Chicago gal. This is for you. Chicago versus small town Oklahoma. There's quite a bit of difference there. If you don't know what the large object on the right is, that's a grain elevator. All my Midwest people know what that is. Yes, good for you. That's where we store wheat. I live in a town of about 30 people. 30 people, not 30,000, 30 people. And then the nearby big city is Alva, Oklahoma, a population of about 5,000. And I ran into one of my neighbors from Kingfisher here. So isn't that great? That's just the way it works. We've made a lot of connections of small town folks here this morning, and I'm very excited about that. I really am an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I started my first business in junior high. I've been doing businesses ever since. I have worked for other people, but I've probably worked through a business in just about every way that is possible, except I don't believe I've ever had my own partners kick me out of a business. So I'm going to let Barry have that honor. Very big business goes on in small towns. You've heard of some of these brands. This is the reason that Barry has a great perspective on small town entrepreneurship, because he frequently gets called to small towns to come and speak. He already made a connection here. He spoke in Atumwa, where one of our folks here is from. Small towns are centers of commerce, and this is becoming increasingly relevant for the larger world, because if you look back at how everything has changed over the last several years, the world has become a lot more like a small town. So we're going to play Remember When. Do you remember before 2008 when everything always went up? When the stock market always went up. Your investments always went up. The value of your home was always increasing. And then it all changed. Everything changed. So what happened after that, when the economy crashed, the economy came crashing down, but at the same time what was happening was technology was coming up with new ways for us to communicate with each other, new ways for us to live and work in different places. And so it's like at that moment, society made a big shift to the side. Suddenly, as large corporations were nothing that we could trust anymore, we were all very interested in small companies. We became worried about our own local economy in a way that people hadn't been for a long time. Now, those of you, which is most of you, from small towns, are already thinking to yourself, that's just like a small town. And that's the secret. That's the secret. The big changes that have happened in the larger society have brought it closer to being like a small town. The president laid out in his State of the Union address the economic challenge that the world is facing right now and what the United States is up against, that we need to have much better trained workers. We need much more innovative companies so that we can be competitive on the global scale. If you live in a rural state, you've been listening to that kind of economic development lesson for a long time. That's the exact thing that we've been trying to do with our society, because we're all rural now. Bill Bishop, the editor of the Daily Yonder, summarized that entire speech by the president of saying we're all rural now. That's the kind of problems that we faced. So it really isn't news in a small town, because our economy always has been tight. We have dealt with some major shifts over the last 100 years that have kind of taken us through these economic challenges that the nation is facing right now. We had the major shift where population started moving from rural to urban. We had an incredible shift from the agricultural-based economy in small towns to a manufacturing-based economy in many small towns. And that, of course, is followed by the shift of the manufacturing base out of the country. So small towns have already had to at least face up to these economic realities in a way that the rest of the country is just now coming around to. So one of the challenges that we faced in my area of the country is that we went through the Dust Bowl. We went through the Dust Bowl, and it was a terrible time, and it buried a lot of assumptions that we made about the economy, about resources, about technology. And some of those things probably seem familiar in the challenge that we're facing right now. You can never exhaust the soil. Ooh, that's not going to work. That, it's a boom, and anybody can make money in this boom. You've heard that. You've heard that. So what did we learn? We learned some lessons from that, and we learned you cannot change the rain. Every resource can be exhausted. And in fact, every boom is followed by the bust. And if you forget that, then you are left in a bad position because you come up with the challenges that we face in the economy right now. Small towns, having been hit by a series of challenges like this over the last 100 years, are less likely to forget that with every boom comes a bust. We remember, we've been through that cycle before. So the reason that people in larger cities are starting to care about what small towns do is because these lessons have a new relevance for everyone now. What works really well in a small town can now work in a larger setting as well. So small towns are like this great little learning lab. What can we look at in small towns and learn from what has been working well in small towns that we can apply in other areas? And that's what we're going to work through today, is we're going to work through some things that you can take and apply in many other areas of the economy, in your business, things that, the 7 secrets of small town entrepreneurs. Barry's going to start us off by going through the economy and the lessons we can pull from that.